Welcome back, everybody. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to actually get rid of this second paragraph tag right here. It's pretty simple. And I'll just go ahead and get rid of that too here. So, and we'll test everything, and everything still works. Okay, now in this tutorial, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to you about something called variables. Now, I've told you that the function is like a box of code, and that box of code will do something. But if you could imagine a box of code with a whole bunch of other boxes that hold certain values, okay? And these values don't necessarily run code. All they do is they're like numbers and names or something like that, okay? Now, variables are really important, and they're like a box of information, really. So you have the function, which is a box that does something, and the variable is the box of information, okay? And variables are super important because they can, again, be names, they can be numbers, they can be a whole bunch of different types of data, essentially what it is, right? So the first thing we're going to do, in order to actually call a variable, all we need to do is type in var, okay? And this var here is just stands for variable. And JavaScript's actually unique in that you don't have to specify the type of variable. So there's different kinds of variables. There's something called a Boolean variable, which is true or false. There's a integer variable, which is numbers, and there's string variables, which is characters. So if you wanted to make a string variable, for example, it would be like my name. You can say your name, anybody's name, but what you couldn't do is you couldn't put a name inside an integer variable or an int variable because integers are only numbers. There's no characters allowed. And you couldn't put a number inside a Boolean variable because a Boolean's only true or false. Now, all we have to do in JavaScript is call the name. So we can type in variable name just like this, and there we go. So now we have a variable. That's all it is. And we can have hundreds of these variables. In fact, if you're making games or apps, you generally have a lot of variables with your program here. And that's one thing when you're learning about programming, you see examples with 2, 3, 4, and maybe on the outside chance 10 variables. But when you're actually developing, you actually use quite a bit. And especially when you're releasing, because you really have to add in a bunch of data for pretty much a lot of things that happen within a program. So we have a variable name just like that. So what we can do is we can go to, let's type this in, variable number, okay? And we'll type this again, we'll call this variable name. And you see I'm putting semicolons at the end of this, and there we go. So the thing is that these variables are the same thing right now. They're just variables, they're just boxes, okay? We'll assign colors to these boxes, okay? So these are both a blank cardboard colored box, okay? But as soon as we do this, and it's called initializing variables, we type in equals 0, okay? Now, what we've done is we've changed this variable from being a string variable or just a blank variable to an integer variable. Now, again, JavaScript, since it doesn't really distinguish between strings and ints like other languages do, we can actually mash these together. But for the most part, to avoid errors, you want to think of variable number as always going to be a number. It's never going to be a string. And in fact, it's much better if you think of it this way because it will cause a lot of hardships down the road. Now let's go into variable name here. So what we need to do is we need to put in 2 quotes like this, and we're going to type in your name. There we go. Pretty simple, right? Okay. Now, let's just do something cool here. What we're going to do is we're going to go alert, and watch this. We're going to type in variable number, just like that. Okay? There we go. 2 warnings. And if you change the text, you see that it comes out as 0. Okay? And if we type in variable name, just like this, change the text, it comes out as my name. Okay? So if we change this to whatever we want, let's say 2, and we change this back to variable number, all right, change the text, and it comes out as 2. So what it is that this alert, and whenever you see this, any kind of brackets, it means you can put something in there. Okay, so this alert here, we typed in, we typed in a string here. Okay, and it came out as pop. But we can also put in any kind of variable we want into that. And you'll also notice that there is a bracket here, and that's for something completely different. Okay, that's for something. That's you can put variables into a function and they can do stuff, but we don't really need to worry about that quite yet. What I do want to show you is that you can actually go and put in variables wherever you want here. Now, watch this. If we want to change the text to variable name, just like this, we change the text. And you can see that this is undefined here, and the reason is that I didn't put anything there. So let's just go ahead and put pop here. Okay, and you'll also notice that when we do this here, pop, it does change to variable name. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and delete this here, and you'll see here that if I just expand this out a bit, it'll be a little bit easier to look at. So what you'll see is you see the document.getElementID paragraph text inner HTML equals to the variable name, or we can make it even to variable number. Okay, just like that. And if we change the text, it changes to 2. Okay, and so that's essentially how you use variables. Again, variables are really important because they can take in anything. For example, if you're making a calculator app, you can take in the variable that was typed in and then add it to something, which I'll show you in the next tutorial. I'll see you guys next time.